as we head over here to our Sounders. March 18th versus LAFC, a scoreless draw. Tough game, an intense game against LAFC. Our player of the match, goalkeeper Stefan Frei. Frei only had 3 saves listed, 2 diving saves and 9 recoveries, but really in this match, Frei was the difference between a win and a loss. Kept Seattle from a loss, really, is the main thing. I apologize, the whole ties thing. Had some huge saves here to come out and get the ball. And then in the 92nd minute, a big save in extra time to make sure that Seattle did not concede, and that wasn't a problem. They didn't give up that goal late, as the Sounders really couldn't find that final third there. Had some turnovers in the final third. They were the better team than LAFC in this one. They just couldn't finish it off there to put that away, unfortunately. So, there are 2 key points. They're 1 point. I don't know where I'm getting 2 from. It's 1 point here in the draw to split that. But, against this LAFC team, with the run that they've been on, obviously winning MLS Cup last season, they've had a great start this year. They're currently still in CCL. So they're really working it right now. It's a really good club down in LAFC. And to play like you did, obviously, with the way that you looked, you probably should have secured those points. But I don't think it's a bad result necessarily. I know Brian Schmetzer was not happy with it, and I can understand why. Again, with the opportunity that was on the table, early in the season, you get a clean sheet at home, likely that's a win. That's usually a win. And with the way that you started off the first few weeks, normally it would be. You'd think that you'd get more offensive production. Over the last few weeks, you've scored 0 goals. 2 weeks it is, which is disappointing. But again, this is week 4, and you're still kind of figuring things out. Eber is not with the club right now because of that hamstring strain. Obed Vargas just played his first match. When that happened. So I don't think it's something to worry about necessarily. But it is something to note. It is important, and it is something to keep an eye on. You just hope that doesn't continue. I know that after the loss to FC Cincinnati, there was we don't want to note that it looked like last year. Seattle's record on the road is something that needs to improve. I believe they're winless in their last 19 on the road. I could be wrong, but it's not good is the point. I could have made that number bigger than it was. So it's nice to have 3 clean sheets at home in 4 matches. 3 clean sheets in 3 matches at home. 3 clean sheets in 4 matches. Should be 4, with that loss to Cincinnati, but I digress. So that's a big deal. But again, I don't want this to be looked at as a failure, considering though that on the contrary, you should have had a goal. We have some injury news, unfortunately, in that match. Does relate to Stefan Frei, actually, and it's not his fault. Frei came out to collect a ball and kind of helped take out Jackson Reagan. In the process, Reagan, suffered a bruised rib in that match, and Brian Schmetzer said that they will be getting some tests done to see what that means going forward. But yeah, so hoping that nothing too serious there for Reagan, who's been a key there for the Sounders. He's started every match for Seattle, and it's just been. I was really high on Reagan this past year, and just continuing to hope that he grows and grows, but obviously you don't want this injury to derail him much. Big news here. On the 14th, we found out that the club has qualified for the 2025 Club World Cup. With the Club World Cup expanding its format, all CCL winners from 2021 to 2024 will have already qualified for the FIFA Club World Cup. So CF Monterrey, who won in 21, and then obviously the Sounders, who won last year, will both automatically be inserted. But the new format will feature 32 clubs, including 4 from CONCACAF, should one club win the CCL title twice in this span until 2024. then the next best team in the FIFA rankings would qualify for the Club World Cup, with further details of the ranking system to be communicated. A cap of 2 clubs per country will be applied, which is interesting, with an exception in case more than 2 clubs from the same country win the CCL over the 4-year period. So, yeah, I don't know. It's nice that Seattle will get another shot at it after that tough loss to Al Ahly in this year's Club World Cup. But cool to look forward to. It'll be interesting to see what this roster looks like in 2025. But hey, that's still historic. I don't know any MLS team that's been to Club World Cup once besides the Sounders, let alone twice. So it's pretty good. We move over here. We've got a bunch of news about call-ups. Speaking about World Cup sort of things relating to national teams-wise. On the 16th, we found out that 2 centers were called up to their respective national teams. The Seattle will have their outside wingbacks, Nuhu and Alex Roldan, representing their countries and missing the March 25th match. Nuhu for Cameroon and Alex Roldan for El Salvador. March 17th, Obed Vargas was called into the U.S. men's national team U20 camp. That respective camp will see them take on France, England, and Serbia in its final training camp before this summer's U20 World Cup in Indonesia. So that will be spanning from March 19th through 29th. Vargas has been fully training, participated in a preseason match with the Tacoma Defiance this past week, and then obviously, like I mentioned, he participated in the match against LAFC. On the same day, Javier Arriaga was called into the Ecuador camp. I'll continue here before I get to that note. And then March 19th, it looked like Peru might not call up forward Raul Ruidiaz. We then found out on the 19th that Raul Ruidiaz will be recalled into that camp. He'll play with Peru in international friendlies against Germany and Morocco. Seattle will be missing as many as 6 players for international duty, as Reed Becker-Willing will also called into the U19 camp for the U.S. men's national team. So there was a question about why these matches weren't, why the MLS doesn't try to avoid playing during these FIFA windows. But with the Leagues Cup taking place, it made it impossible really to avoid playing during these windows, which is unfortunate, but it's still important, to see these players represent their country. But yeah, I know that was something that was like, oh, why can't we just try to avoid this? And that's not something that Seattle or the MLS can really do. So we continue on here. Our Sounders sit at a 2-win, 1-loss, 1-draw record. Their next match is March 25th at Sporting Kansas City, which is a 5:30 p.m. start. So Seattle goes on the road for the second time this season, playing a Sporting Kansas City team that has not won this year and has really they failed. They haven't scored a goal yet, but they've only allowed 1 through those competitions. So these are important points. So again, you want to be able to stack that in the early part of the season so that you're not trying to play catch up in the middle of the season, let alone at the end of the season. So that is it for our Sounders. Well, I mean, they sit at 6 in the league in Supporters Shield standings and 3rd in the Western Conference at the moment. So